All right, guys, you have been asking for this one for a long time. It's amazing it's taken us this long to get here, but today we are going to be reacting to a Muslim lantern video for the first time. Partially, I think it's been a while because a lot of his videos are very long, and so they're not like totally reactable to. The one that we're going to watch today is him talking with an atheist on the street, I guess sharing his faith from, the Muslim perspective, and the atheist sharing his perspective. I guess we'll take a look at it and we'll unpack it. All right.
I have an interest in religion. I'm interested. I grew up in a very strict Christian home.
Okay.
My parents are very strict, born-again, evangelical, Protestant Christians.
Okay.
I kind of slipped away from that.
Okay.
I don't know what I believe anymore.
All right.
I've read a lot and watched a lot about Islam and Christianity and other religions too.
Sure.
Because I'm just seeking.
Sure.
Seeking whatever truth may be.
Sure. Okay.
And I've spoken to a lot of Muslims in the last year or two, really.
Okay.
A work colleague who's a Muslim from Pakistan
Okay.
introduced me a bit to Islam.
Uh-huh. And then where are you right now? Where is the conclusion?
I just don't know how I can know any of it's true, not just Islam specifically.
Okay.
Any particular religion.
Okay.
You could call me like a
All right. So first,
kind of agnostic.
yeah. First, you accept God's existence first before we talk about religion.
I think that there might well be a God. I could never.
That's a very interesting way to put it. I think that there might well be. So
I think that I would lean more towards there is than there isn't.
Sure.
But I feel like it's not possible for me to make a claim of certainty.
Why not?
God definitely exists.
Why not?
Because I don't know. I've never seen him.
You don't need to see? Do you need to see something to know for a fact that it exists?
Depends what it is.
Okay, so it's not a necessity to see something or observe it, or use the five senses or empiricism in order for you to know for a fact that that thing exists. Now, the very basic thing, the creation of God, what he brought into existence is an absolute evidence that he exists. This universe, can you have something from nothing?
No.
Can you have a universe like this without a creator?
Yeah, sounds very much like the same thing my dad says to me a lot, in fact.
Sure.
He's very much doesn't believe in evolution, anything like that.
Sure.
God created the world, that's it. There's no argument about that, he would say.
But evolution is not related to that anyways, because evolution is only to do with the development of species.
It is.
It only talks about us as human beings.
The general umbrella term evolution to also include things like the Big Bang, something coming from nothing. That's how he uses the term anyway.
Yeah.
I understand evolution is biological evolution.
Yes.
We're talking about.
Yes. So we're talking now about the existence of the universe. So I'm asking you that question. Can the universe come without a creator that brings the universe into existence? Can something come from nothing?
I don't know that something can come from nothing, but I don't know if that's necessarily
You don't know
the right question.
If I say to you 0 plus 0 plus 0 equals what?
0.
Why?
It's always going to be 0.
Because it's nothing.
Yeah.
So you cannot have something from nothing, because nothing will always be nothing if it was ever nothing. So if there was no universe, there was no agency, no creator, we would not exist. It will always remain to be nothing.
The philosophers would say that nothing can't even exist because it means the absence of something. Something has to exist for nothing to have any meaning. So
Not necessarily, just the opposite of it. But we're saying right now, we see something, so we understand what the concept of nothing means. So we can ask that question: can you have something from nothing, from absolute nothingness? And the answer would be no. Mm-hmm. If there was ever absolute nothingness, there will always be absolute nothingness, mm-hmm. which means that there was always something, and that something is not the universe. The universe has a starting point, which means whatever brought the universe into existence is that which we refer to as the eternal thing. And if you bring a universe to existence and you're eternal, then what is that? What do we call that? If something brings the universe into existence and is eternal, what do we call that?
Well, I know you're going to call it God. Or
no, I'm asking you, what do you call that?
A higher power, maybe.
Okay, sure. That higher power has the attributes of creating a universe, which means it requires power we cannot even comprehend, knowledge we cannot even comprehend, or we cannot create the universe and the systems that we have. And that's what people call God. You want to call a higher power, God, whatever term you want to use, it's all referring to the same entity. So I'm saying it's a fact that there is a creator. It's not maybe yes, maybe no, because nothing will ever exist. It will always be absolute nothingness, and we will have no universe if there was no creator. So that's how you can know for a fact that there is a creator. So once you know there is a creator, now we move into religion. Now when you say, how can I know whether anything is absolutely true or which religion is absolutely true? There should be evidences that that religion is absolutely true. And I don't think it's very difficult. I think it's very easy. Like, I would disagree with anyone who tells me it's difficult to find out which religion is true. Because it's obvious. Like, for example, you investigate other religions. You said your father is probably Christian, right? You said, yeah. You open the Bible. Which Bible are you going to read anyways? There's no agreement what the Bible is. Depending on what denomination you'll follow, it'll be different numbers of books. If you are a Protestant, you read 66, you read 73, 83, 82. You don't agree on the number of
66 books is the most common. I'm not saying that. I know the Catholics also have the Apocrypha, as it's called.
No. But they don't call it Apocrypha. You call it Apocrypha as a Protestant. But the thing is, according to the Catholics, which are the overwhelming majority of Christians, by the way, they have a better case because they'll say we're the overwhelming majority. Protestantism started what? 1611. You had the Martin Luther's movement. It's a very recent. It's a recent movement.
1500s Martin.
Yeah, 1611. Sorry, I'm referring to the King James. Yes, the King James writing. So you have in the 1500s Martin Luther, and then you have the King James Bible, which most of Protestants read today. So it's a very late movement. And the Catholics and the Orthodox will say, all the creeds are coming from us anyways. You believe in Trinity, that comes from us, doesn't come from the Bible. So they have a better case, I would say, stronger case if you want to use that term. So okay, they have different numbers of books, and then you go to the Catholics, they have also different number of books. And each one will say this is Apocrypha. Apocrypha is a term, by the way, that have been changed recently, because before it meant something hidden. That's how we used in the Greek, that's the meaning. But then later they started saying, oh, Apocrypha actually means non-canonical. Who decided the canon? Oh, it was Athanasius. Who gave him the authority to decide the canon of the New Testament? Why? And why would it be 27, as I said? Why would it be 66, not 73? Not? Why? So you cannot even determine that. First, there is no originals. You have no originals of the Bible. No original manuscripts. You only have copies of copies like 400 years later. You have contradictions in the book, in the scripture, that contradicts the real world, and it contradicts itself, the scripture itself.
I'm going to say, you don't need to
convince you that Christianity is wrong.
Christianity might well not be true.
Yeah.
This is a conclusion I've come to
Sure. Excellent. So what else do you have under the other than Islam? Give me an example. Hinduism?
No, I don't believe.
Exactly. Okay.
Elephant-headed gods. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I'm not quite there with
all
that.
All right. I agree with you. So we don't even need to discuss that. I completely agree. And when it comes to Judaism is not a religion that is evangelizing, if you want to use that term, anyways.
No, it's very difficult to convert to Judaism.
Yes, and it has the same problem as Christianity when it comes to the idea of contradicting reality. If you want to read Genesis and read what it says there about creation and stuff like that, or you want to look at the fact that there is no earlier manuscripts as well. It's way worse than Christianity, actually. Over 2,000 years separate from Moses, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the earliest written. Jews don't even accept that. They rely on the oral tradition. You have nothing anywhere remotely near Moses. Cannot prove anything that this is what Moses said. And it ascribes all of these deficiencies to God. That God rests, regrets, forgets, and all of this stuff. So Judaism is also not there. Give me an example of what, because you're saying you're struggling to find out what is the truth. So I'm just showing you how easy it is actually to determine what is the truth. Give me another candidate that can be anywhere near Islam, a religion that, yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, a religion, I'll finish the sentence. A religion that has preserved scripture, no contradictions, errors, or mistakes, has evidences, divine evidences of its origin, and has been preserved in the teaching and in the living from the time of the Prophet until today. Give me another example like this.
What I was about to say is,
yes.
Even if you can disprove every religion in the world except one.
Sure, except Islam.
For example,
yes.
Say you're disproving every religion in the world.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And then we get to Islam, you haven't disproved it or proved it at this point.
Sure.
Disproving, I'm wording this really badly. What I'm trying to say is,
yes,
disproving other religions doesn't prove one religion true.
I agree.
That's a completely different thing.
But that's not what I was doing.
I mean, logically speaking, not all religions can be true. That's for sure, right?
Yes, but all religions can be false.
All can be false.
Yes.
One can be true.
Yes.
But not all can be true.
I agree.
Otherwise, we violate the the principle of non-contradiction.
Sure. I agree with you. But that what I was saying is not to prove that Islam is true. Is to kind of respond to the statement you made about the problem in finding out which one is true.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's not really a problem because it's super easy to disqualify these religions.
I would rephrase that slightly. The issue I'm looking for is not finding out which one is true.
Sure.
It's finding out if any of them are true.
Sure, that's good. So,
because the way you worded it presupposes that one must be true.
Sure.
But
No problem.
I haven't reached that conclusion. That's a presupposition.
No problem. So once we agree that it's very easy to disqualify these religions, now we talk about Islam. Now, what evidences have you seen of Islam? Because you said maybe you've seen videos of me or videos of people. What evidences have you seen that people put forward to show that Islam is the truth?
I've just... the thing is, I've watched a lot of videos.
Okay, sure.
To be fair, I haven't
no
been
evidences.
making notes.
Yes,
honestly. Okay. I do have a copy of the Quran that I haven't really looked at that much,
Sure.
if I'm honest.
Sure.
Just saying, yeah, the Imam of the East London Mosque gave me a copy of the Quran
Sure.
when my friend took me there
That's
last year. But I haven't looked at it much because it could sound awful, but as much as much.
All right. We're getting into this. What can I say about this so far? It's interesting to watch the dynamic on a street, of how these things kind of go down. I've actually, been there in my life before, probably where I was doing something similar to that, maybe in a school hallway or something like that. It feels awkward, especially when you're talking about something like beliefs and trying.
From what perspective were you doing it from?
Oh, maybe from a Christian perspective at the time.
You were the Christian trying
trying to tell someone about my faith, why they should believe in it, why it's
apologetics,
why it's the way. Yeah, and this actually seems like it's going pretty smooth in terms of a conversation. There's not yelling. I watched quite a few of his videos where people are yelling in the background and stuff like that. Oh my gosh, it's chaotic. I don't know.
Nothing will solidify you more in a belief than people contradicting your belief.
Yeah.
Can I ask a couple of questions, or do you want to finish up?
Sure. Jump in and then yeah.
So play along with me for a second, in good faith here for a sec. Just play along with me. I'm going to ask you some questions. I'll just ask that you ask me them back after I ask them to you.
Okay.
Are you a Jew?
No.
Are you Jewish?
No.
Are you a Buddhist?
No.
Are you a Christian?
No.
Are you a Muslim?
No.
All right. Now you ask me those questions. Yep. So you said no to all those, including you're not a Muslim, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now you ask me some questions. Those things.
Are you Jewish?
No. Yes.
Okay. Are you Muslim?
Yes.
All right. Are you a Buddhist?
Yes. I'm all of them. I believe all of them.
Okay.
No, that's me playing a character. I don't necessarily believe any of them. I'm just trying to make a point here that they're ideas that rattle around in your head and trying to display what happens when you rehearse. Because I thought about that before we went back to it. I rehearsed that going down.
Yeah.
When you rehearse things, it's not quite authentic, genuine, real reality now, is it?
Yeah.
If especially if I've taken a class on it. Remember back in the day when you were in school, we would watch videos on how to lead a sinner to Christ.
Yeah.
There's like a formula. There's a formula. And when you're already given to something, you can't help but like when you're watching your favorite team, you're watching everything, you can't help but root for your team to win. And you've got perspective lock.
Yeah.
And you're only going to see the type of thing I'm saying potentially is like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Doesn't get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if somebody's agreeing with what you already think, you're going to be like, they understand. I've seen that. No, I'm not making fun of one particular thing. I've seen this with Christians.
Yeah.
They'll feed you a freaking dog bone. You get it. Every right answer you say, they'll be like, he gets it. They don't get it. It's a cheap social tactic, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Very diplomatic-y people, very, very political people do this thing.
Yeah.
And it's cheap, in my opinion. Sometimes it takes social intelligence. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
It takes a social intelligence to reward someone for the right answer and subtly dissuade them from the wrong answer.
Yeah.
It takes a social intelligence.
There's a lot of things that have been said within this conversation that get noted as fact, where I could have braked the video 500 times and been like, break, stop. It because there's a lot of things that he'd be like, and fact. And I'd be like, well, whoa, we could stop and talk about that because all the things that were rattling around in my brain were the ideas of paradox and assuming something is a way. There's much more nuance within these conversations. One thing I see often within most religions is that they'll take kind of like the intelligent observation we make of the universe as like God, and then they associate it with the thing that they believe. They use it as the confirmation for the other things that they believe that aren't necessarily attached.
Thank you for addressing that. I wouldn't even touch it because it's actually too frustratingly basic. It's a basic ass thinking to me. But I'll say this, okay? There's also a difference between someone facing something with the earnestness of a child. You know, like, I'm not a Christian, but Jesus said it pretty well when he said, lest they become like children, they shall not enter the kingdom of heaven. There's like an imploration to become childlike.
Yeah.
Now, ask me some challenging, critical questions about my belief.
How do you know that what you believe is the one truth?
Because of personal experience, because these scriptures have been verified through time. It's something that I've experienced myself. It's because we've got more overwhelming proof because of what we believe. Look at my visage. Look at my inability to like change my, like, I'm not open to what you're saying. I'm not even barely making eye contact with you. I'm pre-thinking about my things. I'm concerned with how I look to everybody else. You can't focus on shit unless you're being earnest and in the moment. And I don't care how I sound. I'm concerned only with saying exactly the precise truth.
And that's why we don't do a ton of debate content on here, is because when you are in debate mode, you usually shut off the ability to like take things that are counter, to what you believe.
What the hell does it have to do with the truth? Yeah. What does it have to do with the truth? If I'm like, well, I can't look like I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't give a crap what anyone's definition of a man is, or a woman, or in anything.
Yeah.
Be honest with me and tell me when you're vulnerable, and I'll try to do that too. Then we might, like, holy crap, we might actually get to the truth if we're all being like forthright and earnest and honest and looking each other in the eyes
and not pre-programmed
and being like, I don't know, saying things like, I don't know, I actually don't know.
Yeah.
That's my imploration, is for people to be earnest. That's all I get from this. I'm looking at the guy, his facial hasn't changed on this, and maybe some controlled blinking and some this. I'm being a little judgy about that. That might be his honest demeanor. Yeah. I don't really know. But when I see somebody scrambling, they're cognizing in real time. They're looking around, they're trying to decide. And then I see somebody that's regurgitating information like it was like pre-programmed, and like, if you don't buy it, then on to the next one. And whoever latches onto it is like, got it right. That's ain't got nothing to do with truth, in my opinion.
Yeah. Truth
is real time, it's visceral, it's ugly, it's vulnerable, it's all kinds of different things. It's not always appears one way. That's not how the rest of the universe works. Yeah. Otherwise, we're in some kind of perspective lock. We're in some kind of, we're ideologically possessed. Go look up ideology and possession by that. Like, it has to do with dogma. It has to do with deciding one thing's right, and then I will only look for clues that validate that first thing that I decided was true. I'm going to harp on that till the cows come home. Mm-hmm. Every time we encounter somebody that is proselytizing one specific thing, for the foreseeable future, I will probably harp on that. Mm-hmm. Unless, who knows, maybe I'll get converted if somebody comes up with a good enough argument. Yeah. I'm open.
All right. Well,
a little bit. I got to be honest. I'm not that open.
Yeah. We're
a little bit guarded. I got to be honest.
We're almost halfway through here. We'll continue on.
It's like I found the Bible. I find reading religious books really boring.
Yeah, but that's a very subjective.
I don't mean that as an insult to the Quran.
That's fine.
Religious books in
You've
general.
not read the Quran, so
I find boring.
That's all right. If you've read the Bible, you've not read the Quran. So
I've read bits of the Bible. I've certainly not read the whole Bible.
Sure. I don't blame you. So look, when it comes to the idea of boring or not boring, that's very subjective. Number one. Number two, the purpose behind the religious scripture is not to entertain you. So it's not a novel where you're supposed to read it.
What's going to happen next?
Yeah.
I know
this is the Quran is guidance for you, to guide you through the steps of this life. What's going to happen right now? What's going to happen after you die? These specific things. That's the purpose behind the Quran, not entertainment, right? So the Quran. I was asking the question about evidences for why Islam is the truth. Have you come across? Do you remember anything like evidences that people put forward that Islam is the truth? But what would be convincing to you is the question.
That guy I spoke to at Speaker's Corner ages ago. What was his name? Hamza. He was a convert.
Anyways,
But anyway, yeah.
Yes.
And he was talking about Muhammad, whether you take him at his word, whether he was a madman, whether he made it up, or whether he...
And then what was your conclusion?
I've heard for Jesus from a guy called C.S. Lewis, whether he was a madman, a liar, or was who he said he was.
Sure, okay.
I've heard, and he used a very similar argument with Muhammad at the time.
Well, we accept Jesus as well, so...
Oh, I know, Isa.
Yeah.
You can't be a Muslim if you don't believe in Jesus.
Yes,
you have to believe in all the prophets.
Yes.
I understand that.
So we believe he was who he said he was, and he said he was a prophet. He never said he was God.
I know. This is where there's a difference in what Christians and Muslims.
So that's the only evidence you've been
said, or what
sure.
I get that.
That's the only evidence you've been provided.
That was one that I remember.
Okay. So how did that go, by the way? How was that conversation?
It was an interesting conversation. I think it ended up on YouTube, actually.
Okay, and what was the conclusion?
Somewhere.
Sure.
It didn't really reach a conclusion.
All right, it didn't reach a conclusion. So you were not convinced, is what you're saying?
A group of people started heckling at the time.
Oh, okay, all right.
And,
all right, that sounds okay.
This is speakers call.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyways, okay, so let's rewind that then. So what would be Prophet Muhammad made a claim, of course, right? The claim was that he was a messenger of God, the angel Gabriel came to him in the cave and all of that. Now you have possibilities. What would be any other alternative possibility to the fact that he was, other than the fact that he was a messenger of God, that can be possible logically?
I was about to say, but if I think back, that cult, as most Christians call it, a cult, Mormonism.
Okay.
They had their leader, Joseph Smith, who claimed an angel of God came to visit him. Gave him a message. That none of the churches have got it right, and then he came up with the Book of Mormon, or whatever it is.
But he was lying.
Well, I believe he was lying.
No. I'm not saying now about belief. I'm talking about facts, because he made certain prophecies of the future. Some of them, like America is going to end in this specific year.
Yeah.
And that shows that he was lying. So from the options that we have, we can already disqualify him because we have evidence that he lied.
I thought that was the Jehovah's Witnesses actually who predicted America was going to end in a certain year. Another one of these little cults.
Yeah,
I don't think the Book of Mormon.
Oh no, I'm talking about Joseph Smith. You said Joseph Smith.
Yeah.
So I was talking about Joseph Smith.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't remember him mentioning a year, but anyway, the Book of Mormon's obviously.
Yes.
It's not true. I don't believe that for a second.
Sure.
But I'm just using that to say somebody else has claimed the same thing.
Sure.
That an angel of God visited him and gave him a message. So to me, somebody claiming
you're saying
that,
you're saying
like if you came to me right now and you said, "Oh, an angel of God came to me and gave me a message," and I've written this holy book and you gave it to me, and I'm not going to believe it. And you would be the same if I did that.
I agree. But this is the idea. If you investigated my life, you will come to the conclusion that there are rational options of why I made that claim. You look at my life, since I will have a reason, right? If I say to you I'm a messenger of God, I have something in my mind. Whether it is power that I seek, whether it is money that I seek, whether it is a change, whatever it is I'm trying to do, there will be a logical purpose in which I'll...
Sorry, pardon the interruption. I felt like stopping for a sec, because I wanted to give this guy, the Muslim guy here, some credit, okay?
Yeah.
He's using logic and rationality. Yeah, he is saying, like, okay, they'll bring up some other religion. He's doing a little bit what politicians do sometimes, which can be frustrating, which is vote for me because these people are wrong.
Yeah.
Correct? You know, you ever see that in politics where they'll be like, vote for me because that guy's a liar and that guy's corrupt. They'll do smear campaigns on everyone else so that you vote for them.
Yeah.
And so I have to give this guy credit. It's not like he's full of crap. I can't argue with him when he says, well, this was dismissed, so we can disqualify that. Yeah. I'm not against his disqualifications of stuff, okay?
Yes, yeah.
My Muslim community that's watching this, I want to be fair here.
Yeah.
But I would say, are you really, 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 really willing to do that to yourself? If somebody came along and started to I don't want to do it. I don't want to sit there and list off some discrediting things. Maybe I can't. Yeah. I honestly couldn't because none come to mind. But do you know of any? I don't know. Like
discrediting things for what?
From the Islamic faith, like something that would disqualify something.
All I know are the arguments that people bring. If it's against Islam, obviously outside of the content that we do here, I will watch. We don't do the debate thing on here typically. But there are things that I know that I don't bring up here because I don't.
Okay, but it would be, I don't want you to do it. I wish I could come up with one myself.
Yeah, like I do look at other points of views. Like there are like people who were Muslim who aren't Muslim anymore, and then they tell you the reasons why. And then there are people who are now Muslim who were atheists before.
It sucks that we don't have an actual point, because the thing is, I guess I'll just leave it at this. Are you willing to hear the things that somebody else could do? There are street Christians that would do something similar to this, and they might criticize Muhammad.
There's tons of it out
Peace
there.
be upon everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They might discredit something like that. And would you be willing to like hear that and not resist the things the same way that you're discrediting everybody else? I'm just throwing that into the mix.
Yeah. No,
that would be fair,
I actually throw that out there all the time, to myself and to everyone. The thing that you think is right or the best thing, watch content that tries to, that is counter, watch things that are against it or opposite of it. That'll help. That'll either grow you or change your mind in some way. That's all I could say about that, really.
Because right now we're getting one side of it, where he's done his work and he's discrediting the other religions.
Yeah.
But the one time the guy says, "I don't believe in any of this multi-headed elephant god or something," but it's like, why do you believe some of the miracles that, like, give me something, man.
Anything.
You know more about
he said at the beginning that he doesn't know. He said at the beginning, but I'm a little curious why this is labeled as atheist pushes back against the Muslim lantern, because he seems like he actually still believes in God in some facet. That's what he said. Even at the beginning, he leans more towards the idea of
what is a miracle
design
that happens in the Quran? I don't know. Jesus is in there, for Pete's sake. Jesus is in the Quran.
I don't know what miracles happen.
Jesus is in the Quran, correct?
Is that a miracle?
Well, wasn't Jesus miraculous? Didn't he heal people, and wasn't he born of a virgin
birth? Yeah.
So you're going, it's like, yeah, I know. Let's write off many-headed gods. But yeah, it's totally believable, a virgin birth.
Yes.
Like, you could do the same thing to that.
Well, also just the way that Muhammad received the scriptures. Like, an angel came and met Muhammad.
That's what I'm talking about. I was struggling to do that, and I don't want somebody to go, see, you actually couldn't. No, there is things to do that.
Yeah.
I just would rather not get ugly and into a scrimmage, into, that kind of point in warfare. I'm saying you could do that to yourself. You're not above having someone question your own scriptures that way. Any religious scripture is susceptible to that.
Yeah.
Just like we can do it all to each other's religions.
Yes, yeah.
So you could take the thing of going, everybody, I'm going to pick one, or you could pick all of them and see the validity of all of them. If one of them's valid under God's great universe where he allows all these things to thrive and struggle and all these different things, maybe the option to pick more than one is available. Okay. Or it's just got to be one. So pick wisely. What are the chances it's the one that you just so happen to be born into?
Yeah.
Getting into some egoic stuff here,
That changes whatever it is I'm trying to do. There will be a logical purpose in which I'll be able to trace looking at your life. And that is the argument that we make. If you look at the life of Prophet Muhammad, you'll see all of these other alternative options. None of them can be valid. None of them can work. He cannot be seeking money because he refused money and he refused power. He'd been living with his wife for 2 months, on the water and dates only. And he could have said to people, bring me food, bring me money, right? And you've been offered it, and he was the leader at the time, but he didn't do that. So if you look at his life, then you start disqualifying these other alternative possibilities, right? But more importantly is that the Prophet has brought evidences of divine origin anyways. Like, for example, the prophecies of the future that he made. Can me and you know the future? Can any human being know the future?
No, I wish, otherwise I'd be a lottery winner.
Yeah, I agree with you. You go in and bring all the money and come out, right? So Prophet Muhammad made tens of prophecies about the future. All of them actualized the exact specific way that he said. I'll give you a few examples. For example, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, the Bedouin Arabs, you'll see the barefoot Bedouin Arabs, I'm not sure if you heard this before or not, you will see the barefoot Bedouin Arabs competing in building the tallest buildings. Where's the tallest building in the world today?
Isn't it the Burj Khalifa, I believe?
Burj Khalifa, in Dubai.
In Dubai, yeah.
Yes. And you have exactly what the Prophet said. You have these barefoot, because they were barefoot 50 years ago. There was a complete desert. Do you know what changed?
There was nothing there.
Yes. Do you you know what changed?
Well, money in their case.
Where did money come from?
Oil.
Oil, exactly. The Prophet said the earth will puke its treasures, and he said money will become abundant within you, referring to the Arabs. So he didn't only say that they would be constructing and building tall buildings. They were not known of building tall buildings. They did not have this idea anyways in their mind. Only when the money came, the money became abundant with them, then they start competing with each other and building tall buildings. Exactly how the Prophet said. And he said that 1,400 years ago. Prophet said you'll see the deserts of Arabia becoming green again. And you open NASA, they show you the greenery of deserts of Arabia, how it was yellow and became green from 1800s until today.
So I only flew over the Arabian Peninsula not too long ago. It didn't look very green.
Let me show you a picture of what I'm referring to. It is becoming green.
I flew through Jeddah, and I was just looking. I was like, this is a desert.
I'll show you now.
I'm very interested.
Nobody said it's all green now, but it is turning green. Okay. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Look, here is the NASA article, yeah? Look, do you see the difference?
I see, so there's little fields of green coming up.
No, you see here, nothing.
1987.
You see here, you see here how much.
2012, yeah.
That's not a little bit. That's too much green, right? And that is happening. Why? It is because of accessing deep water. The technology we have, you can access deep water within the earth. Or you saw some countries. They're moving huge mountains of ice, using planes and moving them from North Pole here. They're bringing them to change the weather, right? And you see all of the things they're using for the weather so they can have more rain happening, right? So all of this technology is the reason we can have the greenery is increasing daily. It is increasing every day. And the Prophet says the deserts of Arabia will come back to be meadows and rivers. So it will be back again, but he's making two claims that it was in the past as well. And he said that 1,400 years ago. I have an article from Nature showing us that 5,000 years before was all rivers. Because we have traces of 10,000 Asian lakes. We use satellites so we can see this Asian lake. Of fossils of animals that only live when there is excess water, like elephants and these animals, right? Yep. This is how we know. But how would the Prophet know? 5,000 years before him what was and what will happen in the future. Prophet talked about, for example, usury and interest and how it becomes so widespread that you'll not be able to avoid it. Even the Muslims who trying to avoid it, they will be hit by its dust.
And what I don't understand with that, just to add, this is a little bit of a side point.
Sure.
But usury is forbidden in the Bible as well.
Sure.
And in Christian societies, it's a big thing.
Yes.
Or so-called Christian societies.
Yeah. But if they're capitalistic societies these days, anyway.
Yeah, usury. I mean, I'm caught in debt.
Sure, right?
And the interest is a pain in the ass, to be honest.
And that's why Islam prohibits that thing, right? It's because it's using other human beings, their need of money, so they can to get your own benefit. Oh, go and give me more. 2 times, 3 times now. Now it's 10 times, and sometimes you look at these cases of student loans and crazy interest rates, right? Slavery, it's modern slavery essentially, right? So the question is, the Prophet named the countries that will become the Islam will enter. He said that Islam will enter into Sham, which includes Jordan, Syria, Palestine, all of these countries. He said Turkey, Constantinople that time. He said India, Pakistan, he said Egypt, he said Iraq, all of these countries by name.
What about countries like Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan?
So the Prophet said you will overcome the Roman and Persian Empire, which is essentially exactly what happened when we took all of these territories that you're talking about. Not only that, he said the leader of the Roman and Persian Empire in that region, in that time, he will be the last one.
Yeah.
And when he was taken away, he was the last one historically. But the question is, how would you know all of these things that I'm telling you now? And by the way, this is just some. We're talking about tens of prophecies that the Prophet made. Some of them in his time, things that will happen in his time, like when the Romans and Persians were fighting, which is a prophecy in the Quran, and it's time bound. Things that are after him, like the Mughals, and how they will come and they will be wearing these boots, which will have hair further than them, and how their eyes will look. The Prophet described what they will wear, and that came like 600 years or 700 years after him. And the scholars who were living at the time, they could not believe exactly what the Prophet described is happening in front of their eyes. Now, how can we know what the Prophet said, that God that we said must exist. Prophet said, he revealed this information to me. I don't know the unseen. He said, only God knows the unseen. He's telling me that these are signs of the Day of Judgment, for example. This will happen in the future. Now, Can you give me now an explanation if he wasn't a messenger of God? How did he know these things? And that's one evidence, and I can give you more later, but it's one example, right?
Yeah.
How would he?
First of all, I would have to say, number one, I would have to actually read
No problem.
the specific references that refer to these, because I want to know what it exactly says.
Sure.
Because I know how...
You can watch the video after, and then you'll see the references come on the screen.
And then, I'm being filmed.
Yes.
I don't mind.
Yeah, no problem.
What was I going to say? I know how vague some prophecies can be, and certainly I've seen how Christians have taken certain passages of the Bible that are very vague, and they make it into a prophecy that they say has been fulfilled.
I know what you're saying.
Has it really? Has it really?
I know what you're saying.
There are a couple of prophecies in the Bible that do seem to be being fulfilled. Like in the last days, there will be an explosion of knowledge. It predicted an explosion of knowledge like the world has never seen before. So much knowledge would be
These are
gained
general.
in such a short amount of time, which the last 200 years really is when that's happened. It's amazing how much knowledge we've gained. Now, again, I'm not arguing for the Bible here. I'm just pointing out that there are some prophecies in the Bible that appear to have come true. The Bible predicted that the nation of Israel would be scattered and would come back together again as a country, which happened.
But there's a problem with that, because that is written after that happened. So that cannot work as a prophecy.
It was predicted that it would come back together again, anyway.
Yeah, so it cannot be used as a prophecy to say that it will be scattered, because what the writings that we have are carbon dated after these events took place. Now that's the problem with most, if not the overwhelming majority of what Christians claim that there is prophecies in their books, right? Now also, you can make general claims like knowledge. Some of them are very general. I'm not talking about general, I'm talking to you about very specific things, right? That's why I gave you very specific. I told you by name the prophet, for example, is naming the countries, right? Or the action that the people will be doing. And about that, I'll give you a specific prophecy. The prophet said that writing will widespread, specifically, so very specific, not just knowledge. He talks about writing. But in the same time, he said also ignorance will widespread. And that is the paradox that we live in.
I'm not even going to argue with that.
Yes.
You're damn right that ignorance is widespread.
But you see, that shows you that he is not making any of this up, because if he was, he doesn't, you do not predict paradoxes. You don't say the thing and its opposite. But in reality, we live in that. We have so many books, nobody's reading them.
I would say, though, that the claim ignorance will be widespread or whatever is just as vague as the biblical claim that knowledge is going to explode. To me, that's a very vague prophecy.
Sure, so what my point is not necessarily about the ignorance will widespread, but its contradiction with the idea of the writing is widespreading. Because you would think that if writing would widespread, that necessitates people would become educated, because that was a source of education. But sadly...
Only if the stuff that's written is accurate and educational.
No, but a lot of it is.
There's so many people
actually,
who believe the earth is flat, for example.
I know.
Where does that come from?
I know. But we don't want to trigger people now. But what I'm saying is this: when writing today, everything you want to learn is there. Beneficial knowledge is there. Just people are not reading. So it's not a problem that the writing is not beneficial for the people. The problem is that the people are not seeking the education, and that's why they're watching TikTok videos that are less than 1 minute. Right? That's why TikTok has become so popular, because they cannot watch more than a minute. Right?
Some of us are different, but
yes, I know. So, what is the explanation that you can provide me other than if what I'm saying is accurate? Because you said you need to look into them, and that's fine. You can see the differences and look into them. Now, if everything I said is the way it is and it's accurate, and the prophet has made these specific prophecies, then is there any other explanation that other than that he was a messenger of God?
What I would say is that if there is, and this is the thing, I don't know, and a lot more research needs to be done. I couldn't say yes or no.
No, I said if we agree that these things are accurate.
A prophet would be every single prophecy must come true.
Sure, that there is not a single false prophecy that prophet made. So agreeing that this is the case, then you would accept that he's a prophet of God?
Not necessarily.
Why? Because you just said the measurement of a prophet.
First of all, I need to research.
No, I said that if it was true.
I won't be backed into a corner to say, oh yes, I will agree.
I'm asking you, if you've done the research on your own, I'm not going to be with you when you do the research.
Of course, yeah.
I'm saying if you've done the research on your own, and you saw that what I was telling you is accurate, then would you accept the prophet as a messenger of God? So it's not about backing you into a corner. When you do it, you'll be on your own. Like, can go right up.
Potentially.
Okay, but why potentially and not yes, if you're a truth seeker as you defined yourself at the beginning of this
question? I never like to give a definitive answer on anything.
Okay, that's fine. So I'll let you there. It's up to you.
Philosophy.
Yes, okay, that's fine.
So I'm all about,
all right.
you know...
I know what you're saying.
Both sides
That's
coming
fine.
down.
That's fine.
No,
This is a critique I have of Western philosophy. I've said it many times, specifically about this idea of hyper-skepticism that gives people, rather than give them answers, it gives them questions.
Yeah.
And it makes them ask a lot more than it does give them any answers.
I mean, in philosophy, you can descend into this radical skepticism where you don't believe anything exists.
Yeah, I know. I know. I was just talking with another person who was saying that not too long ago, like yesterday or the day before.
That was where the famous philosopher Descartes came up with.
I know.
You can establish
I think therefore I am. I know. I'm very familiar.
One thing I did like in philosophy, well, I noticed you were using earlier, was actually a form of Islamic philosophical argument, the Kalam cosmological argument.
I wasn't using the Kalam.
It was similar. Basically, everything that begins to exist has a cause.
That's not what I said. That's why. I know. But I was not using that.
Has a cause.
I know. I was not using the Kalam cosmological argument, which was popularized by a Christian actually, who stole it from us.
Craig.
Yeah, who stole it from us, right? But I was not using that. I was using a Quranic statement. Something coming from nothing is a Quranic statement you'll find in the Quran itself, where Allah says in chapter 52, verse 35, 36, where He says, "Am khuliqu min ghayri shay." Did they come from nothing? Can you come from nothing? So I was using a Quranic argument, not specifically the Kalam, which is related to the everything. You have to establish the premise. Everything comes to existence requires a cause. I don't delve into this philosophical rhetoric. I like to keep it simple, the way it is for most people, the way they understand. And you don't need to, because truth is simple. That's why we can present it very simply and people can accept it. So here I presented you with evidence. There's many more evidences that I can put, but I think one is enough. And I think you can do your investigation on that, and that should be enough for you, inshallah, maybe on to accept Islam if it is true. As I said, it is, right?
I'll see you again.
No problem. Okay, come and tell me what was the conclusion,
what my conclusion is.
No problem. It's a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your time.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
God bless you.
See you.
Okay. Our Muslim brothers and sisters. Glad to have you. Let's say some things about this.
Well, why don't we start with the hyper skeptical? Because some people say you can be so skeptical that you become skeptical about your skepticism, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good to be skeptical and use it as a guiding compass. I think everyone seems to think that you have to get into this absolutist believing in something as an absolute thing. Maybe you can you hold it as like 90% true and leave the door open, flexible, that it could be untrue. Because I think a lot of people get scared with that. If I don't believe Islam all the way, if I don't believe in Islam 100% of the way, then I can't believe in it at all. What can I believe in my existence 90% of the way and keep going on with my life? Because I think it is important to always have a door open to be able to say, I could be wrong about the thing that I'm believing in.
Some things don't require that. Like if you go to check your pulse, you can almost be certain you're going to like feel a pulse there. Or like, if I stop breathing, I'm going to start involuntarily breathing or pass out, and then I'll involuntarily breathe as I'm passed out. Yeah. That's an important point just to show you that some things are pretty darn solid. I take a little bit of contention with this. Like I said, I wanted to point out this guy's logic because he's taking a logical approach, and I commend that. But logic isn't the only game in town, and in my opinion, intelligence isn't even the only game in town. Like, one thing they said there where they're kind of agreeing that nothing can come from something. How do you know? Like, something could come from nothing. After all, where did Allah himself come from? Where did he come from? He came from himself. Well, that's like a thing again, and where did that come from? Like, and to say that it's simple, the truth is really simple. Is reality truth? Like, are rocks truth? Is your body truth? Are those things true? There's no like dispute about your body, but it's not simple. You're made up of like trillions of things that you'd have to take a microscope at. Everything's hyper complicated, really. Yeah. It's not simple. And I don't think intelligence even has the capacity, logic even has the capacity to answer those things like, where do things come from? Nothing or something? Well, it can't be nothing. I don't think you're going to get like a answer there.
Also, the fact that all that work is being done by a limited, finite human being.
Of course, it's all being filtered through like a meat vessel. You know what I mean? When you get beyond that, I think you get to the unfathomable, and you kind of transcend the capacities of the human processing speed, the human processing mind. So yeah, I think you can kind of dispel the idea of everything. It's simple. Everything. Do you know anything that doesn't come from something? Everything comes from mystery. Insert mystery. We don't know where it is. Well, we know it's Allah. Where did he come from? You end up circular logic fine. And so I had more to say. Give me a sec to like gather myself.
Well, let me jump in while
sure.
you're
Yeah.
Oh, well, when it came to the prophecies thing, I did find it a little humorous that the Muslim Lantern kind of like laughed at him a bit when he was like, well, that's very general. But when he was going through his prophecies, why was I underwhelmed? Why internally? Because I feel like I might be more overwhelmed if Muhammad had, predicted 1400 years ago that one day we will all hold.
Yeah, why didn't he?
If we will all hold these in our hand, and all the information you'll ever need to gather will be in this little thing. Like, why is everything like grass will grow more flourishing in Arab or like?
It's an easy fix. How do we know which one's the right? Because they're the only ones that say iPhone in their book. Everything else is definitely up for scrutiny. You know what I mean? And then this gets circular logikified. The only reference, because I know more about it, I got to admit where I don't know. That's why I was like earlier, I was like, you know more about this than I do. What are the things that you could say? And you mentioned that Muhammad was instructed by an angel. How many of you walk around seeing angels every day or see virgin births? Or there are plenty of things that you could say, look, they're up for scrutiny. They're making fun of the Hindu thing or saying, oh yeah, that's easily dismissible. It's not. I'm pro you. I agree with leaving the door open for other insights. All these ancient scriptures might have something to say. Now let me do a little thing here, okay? I just came back from a walk. I walked into the forest and I encountered God. Okay, I'm now a prophet because I had an interaction with God, and he said, I bestow unto you, Justin, a new covenant. Just stick with me for a second. It'll yield some good fruit here. I bestow on you a new covenant. I want you to take the scriptures that we already have, but this is a new chapter in God's book, and I want you to tell the people that, I judge you Pharisee, Sadducee type people, because, behold, the Son of Man comes before you with a new word, and you're denying him. And some followers start following me, and I say, it's my birthright to be the Messiah. God told me. And some people follow me, and I say, look, my disciples, you're going to come under some scrutiny, so we'll do this in secret. And you even have the power to, by any means possible, convert them to my thing. But the moment you start getting into hot water, retreat. Come gather with me, and I'll give you the real stuff. And I cloister myself in. I'm not really allowing me, myself, and my group to be influenced by the world. It becomes how frustrating it is when somebody tells you you can't argue with me, it's my birthright. And by the way, my birthright says I get your stuff. Like that, it starts getting dicey, you know? You don't want to be going around saying I deserve by my very nature more. I have a contention with that, or that part of what I believe has to do with manipulating the others. They don't get it. We get it. You're closing yourself off to the rest of the world. And you say stuff like, they're of their father the devil. Don't let them influence you. Take my daily bread. Any religion that starts talking this way, I take contention with. It's not that you can't sample all these religions and extract the truth of it, but you have to weigh it against historical documentation. You have to weigh it against your
own personal experience.
Your own personal experience. You have to weigh it against science. Weigh it against all these things. They're all going to lead to the truth, but it requires honesty with yourself, and it requires earnestness and straightforwardness, I believe, and that approach to the world. One last thing I would say. I understand the fear of cognitive dissonance. I understand the fear and the struggle that comes with having your belief shaken. This guy who's talking, he happened to come across somebody that seemed like they had a little bit of baggage from religion. Like he was so quick to say negative things about Christian because of his own personal experience. I would assume that there's probably someone out there that used to be a Muslim that's got negative things to say about their Islamic path. And it's probably same with Hinduism and Buddhism. There are radical everything out there. But that guy seemed to be feeding into this conversation because he had his own trepidation with it. It's not the same conversation that would have happened if he ran into somebody that was like a staunch Christian that was also rehearsed everything he was going to say.
I've seen that before. It's not pretty.
Right. And I would say this, as a Christian, and I was growing up, every now and then I would come in contact with somebody that knew their stuff, and they would like make me fearful. And I would retreat inward, I would retreat to prayer, and I would go to the elder Christian people I knew, and they would like talk me back into being a Christian, you know what I mean? You could go to like, dispel this what they're saying.com and then be like inundated with things to reprove what you believe. Yeah. It's definitely hard to face that. And I understand that. And like, you know, baby steps. If your mind is opening up and you're like, maybe I don't know, give yourself a break. You're a human. You're not alone. You know, there's nothing new under the sun. And it's a great mystery. Yeah. You know, how do you know that it's not leading to some greater insight that, you know, like you might find in that book, like there's actually something that covers this that has to do with what I'm going through, which is a deepening, which is a more, you know, I can see that these people are still on mother's milk. They haven't even graduated to solid food yet, but they're in the religion I believe. Yeah. And I'm exploring the deeper, more esoteric versions of it that involve having compassion and understanding for other religions, understanding that they're making points too. Yeah. You know, there's some evidence that Jesus went to India during his teenage years. Yeah. This stuff comes out in the wash. Yeah. Who knows? You might come across something that talks about a third party discussing Muhammad, where you're like, discusses a different thing that maybe not be included in the
Sufi branch there too, the mystical side of Islam, where I'm sure there's some stuff within there that you could probably find.
Illustrates my point.
Yeah. But anyway, this has been a long one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share this with a friend, and everyone till next time,
stay spiritual.